You know, we've all seen the headlines about the US national debt. It's a number so huge, so astronomical, that it's easy to just tune it out, right? Treat it like some far-off problem for another generation. But what if that's exactly what they want you to do? What if, behind all the noise, there's a quiet, hidden plan to deal with this debt? A plan that involves a $38 trillion eraser. Okay, let's get into it. $38 trillion. I mean, just look at all those zeros. It's a number that our brains literally can't comprehend. But here's the thing. This isn't some abstract figure on a government spreadsheet anymore. Nope. It's become an active, living force that is fundamentally reshaping our economy and, frankly, your future. Understanding how this really works is absolutely critical if you want to make smart moves with your money.
For years, this debt was kind of like a sleeping giant. Yeah, it was big, but it was dormant. Well, now, it's awake, and it is hungry. It's having a very real, very direct impact on the US budget, and the simple math of how our government spends money has completely changed. This isn't just politics. This change affects every single one of us.
And if you want proof, look at this. This chart shows a milestone nobody wanted to see. For the first time in American history, the interest payments we make on the national debt have officially blown past the entire budget for national defense. Let that sink in. We are now spending more money just paying the interest on past borrowing than we are on the entire US military. It's insane.
This new reality has kicked off something really dangerous, something known as the debt spiral. The analogy here is perfect. To pay the $1 trillion interest bill on all the old debt, what does the government have to do? It has to issue massive amounts of new debt. It's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. Every single solution just digs the hole deeper and makes the problem that much bigger.
So how does a country get out of a trap like this? Well, historically, there are two standard ways to do it. But here's the catch. In the United States today, both of them are considered politically impossible. They're complete non-starters. Let's take a quick look at why. Okay, so option one is austerity. This means massive tax hikes for everyone and brutal spending cuts to things like Social Security, Medicare, you name it. This would almost certainly spark a massive depression, and no politician wants their name on that. So that's out. Option two is an explicit default, just telling our creditors, sorry, we're not paying. For the country that issues the world's reserve currency, that would trigger a global financial apocalypse overnight. So yeah, both are completely off the table.
So let's think about this. If you can't dramatically cut spending, and you absolutely can't default, what's left? What is the government's actual unspoken strategy for dealing with a debt this big?
And that brings us to the secret third option. It's a strategy governments have used forever, all the way back to ancient Rome. It's called the soft default. See, you don't refuse to pay the debt. Oh no. You pay back every single dollar you owe. You just make sure to do it with dollars that are worth a lot less than the ones you borrowed in the first place.
This whole strategy has a fancy name, financial repression. But don't let the name fool you. It's a deliberate, even if it's unspoken, government policy to hold interest rates below the real rate of inflation. And the goal is simple, and it's pretty stark. It's to systematically transfer wealth from savers, that's you, to the state, paying down the national debt without anyone noticing.
Here's exactly how this slow-motion theft works on your own money. Let's say inflation is running at 5%, but your savings account, where you keep your emergency fund, your hard-earned cash, only pays you 3% interest. Well, your money isn't actually growing, it's shrinking. You are losing 2% of your purchasing power, which your money can actually buy every single year.
And you might think, oh, 2% isn't that bad. But that small annual loss, it compounds, and it gets ugly fast. At a sustained 5% inflation rate, the actual purchasing power of every dollar you have saved today gets cut in half in just 14 years. Poof, half your wealth just erased. Now, this isn't some accident of economics, it's the result of a deliberate policy. So let's pull back the curtain and look at the three key tools the government is using right now to pull this off, often right under our noses. These are the three pillars of this soft default strategy. First, you create a forced captive buyer for your debt. Second, you mess with the very way we measure inflation. And third, you use the central bank as the ultimate backstop to print the money. All right, step one, the captive buyer. In a normal free market, investors would demand much higher interest rates to lend money to a country this deep in debt. So the government just changes the rules of the game. They use regulations to force institutions like banks and even your pension fund to buy US Treasury bonds, whether they're a good investment or not. Step two is what I like to call the broken compass.
See, if your government has to pay out benefits that are tied to inflation, like Social Security, there's a huge incentive to just, well, redefine what inflation means. And they do it with all these statistical tricks like substitution bias, which basically assumes that when steak gets too expensive, you'll just happily switch to hamburger, so therefore, your cost of living didn't really go up. It's wild.
As one analyst put it so perfectly, the government is gaslighting you about the cost of your own survival. This isn't just about some abstract numbers on a chart, it's about the very real impact these manipulated statistics have on your ability to budget, to save, and to just make ends meet every month.
And finally, step 3 is fiscal dominance. This is a fancy term for when the central bank's main job isn't fighting inflation anymore, it's just keeping the government funded. So when other buyers for US debt start to dry up, the Fed just steps right in, creates new money out of thin air, and buys the bonds nobody else wanted. You've probably heard of this. It's called quantitative easing.
So what does all this, the captive buyers, the funny math, the money printing, what does it all mean for you personally? Well, these aren't just abstract economic policies. They are the engine of a massive ongoing transfer of wealth from the middle class to the financial elite. Your wallet is funding their bailout.
To really get this, you have to understand something called the Cantillon Effect. It's a really simple but incredibly powerful idea from way back in the 1700s. When a central bank prints new money, it doesn't spread through the economy evenly, like butter on toast. Not at all. Those closest to the money printer, the big banks, the huge corporations, they get it first, and that gives them a massive head start.
And this is exactly how that flow of money works. The Fed creates new digital dollars and injects them into the big banks. What do? They use that cheap capital to buy up financial assets, stocks, real estate, driving their prices to the moon. By the time any of that money finally trickles down to you and me as a wage increase, the prices of everything we need to buy have already gone up.
And the result is the K-shaped economy that we're all living through right now. The wealth of the asset-owning class shoots straight up. Meanwhile, the purchasing power of the wage-earning majority, the bottom 90%, stagnates or even falls. And here's the kicker, this isn't a bug in the system, it is a feature. The national debt is being quietly paid down by slowly and silently eroding the wealth of the middle class.
And this leads us to a pretty devastating but totally necessary conclusion. The traditional financial advice we were all taught, work hard, save your money, put it in a safe bank account, that advice is now dangerously obsolete. In a world of deliberate financial repression, saving your money in cash or government bonds has become a guaranteed way to lose your purchasing power.
So this forces us to ask one last, really critical question. The entire system has been tilted, making the traditionally safe financial options a surefire way to fall behind. So in an economy where saving your money is no longer a path to prosperity but a guaranteed way to lose, how do you even survive, let alone build wealth?